Today we're going to talk about if the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee is for you. So this is a series that should be 3 books. The third one is slated to come out in 2021. When I Google it, it says September. Let's hope it could be later, it could be earlier. I can't find confirmation, but it's a trilogy. It is an adult fantasy trilogy that everyone's talking about, and I want to talk about whether it's a fantasy series that is worth your time. So let's first talk about, in general, the synopsis of it. At the beginning, we have this world, this island of Kikan, and here we have 2 kind of clans who are vying for control over the city Janloon, and they also control this substance called jade. That's where the magic is in this world, is in how jade affects people. They call it like bioenergetic jade. It kind of almost has a science-y flair to it. But you have this whole mafia strain in this city, and we take the viewpoint of one of the clans. We look at the No Peak clan, and the other clan are the Mountain clan. And so we look at this family, and you are going to be following very closely different members of this family, their different personal life issues, the clan issues, the world issues, etc. in this series. So I feel like the first thing we need to talk about, for you to figure out if it's for you, is what type of fantasy this is. Well, based off my description, I think it's pretty clear that this is, although a different world, this is very urban fantasy. It is also quite contemporary. There's no internet or cell phone per se, so it's kind of more 80s, 90s, but there are cars, there are guns. This does take place primarily in a city setting, even if it is on a different planet, presumably. And it's also going to be tonally very dark. It's going to be it's a mafia story. It's very dramatic. It's going to have a lot of moments that are gruesome, and it's also very patriarchal. I knew this was an issue for one of my friends. You know, it's definitely something that reflects more of what we have now. It doesn't try to twist it. So if you're tired of patriarch stories, even though it's done well and very nuanced, it's definitely very heavy fear. It's very dark. There's a lot of moral grayness going down tonally here. So that's generally where it fits in to the fantasy genre. So let's talk about its pacing, because I feel like this is also important and where the internet has let me down. So here's me helping you, hopefully. Jade City is a pretty slow to medium paced story. It's very character focused at the beginning, and then, in my opinion, has a very strong finish second half of the story. And Jade War is also very good. But what happens is everyone really likes Jade War who read it, which is great. And I also very much like Jade War. But everyone made me think it was super intense, which it has very intense moments, but they're very isolated. So I was expecting a similar sort of pacing that occurred in Jade City, and Jade War very much is a different pacing, but they're both slow to medium paced. And they're both very good and both very high quality. And when you get to the end, you realize why Fonda Lee did what she did, and she's brilliant. But I just want you to know that this is definitely much more like a drama TV show that's going to have moments of tension, but it doesn't necessarily kick off always like this spiraling effect like at the end of a Sanderlanche, or when you have these huge epic fight scenes that last for like chapters. It's definitely like super high energy, very tense, but sometimes very acutely and sometimes over longer spans. And I just really want to hone in here. It's a slow to medium paced book. Like, if you don't connect with these characters, if you don't care about the global international discussions or the tension in the city, then it's going to probably be a struggle for you. For me, I do love the character work. I do think the themes and the ideas being discussed are really cool. I just went into Jade War expecting a very different pacing than what I got. I expected it to be faster paced than Jade City, and if anything, it's similarly paced but with different emphasis, because Jade City takes place over like a year, and Jade War takes place over many years, is what I'll say. So like, I don't know, I kind of expected something else, especially with the end of Jade City, which like the endings are, they're good endings. They really grab you. So that's just something I wanted to talk about with the pacing, because I do think they are awesome slow burns. They are really quality slow burns where you spend a lot of time being invested in these characters and the drama in their lives and with business and the clans. And so when things happen, you feel them and everything feels very earned, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the next book personally. So I just want to have reasonable expectations set and for you to know, because I know not everyone's a character driven reader who wants it to be that slow burn, but it's definitely like a quality slow burn. Very few, I think, have pulled it off to this extent. Now let's talk about the character work, because if it's character driven, I mean, let's talk about the characters. She has somehow made me not hate a character I should despise. I'm not saying I like this character, but that's how good the character work is. We get plenty of moments where we see people interact with this character versus being in that character's head, and I get so conflicted. I'm like, you make sense, but also that was not a good thing to do. Like, I do this often. And then other characters, I just like, I can relate to them when they have to go through a certain arc, and I'm very invested. They all feel very three-dimensional. They all have different motives, they all have different struggles and needs, and the way they interact with the world makes sense for who they are. They all feel very real to me, and I always get sad when I leave one perspective to have to get used to another because I was so invested in who I was just following. But I do think she's good at balancing the time we get with each perspective. The only thing I don't love, and I know why it's there, so I'm not saying it shouldn't be there, but there are some people who are given perspectives who are not main characters, and I don't like them, like at all. And whenever it's their chapter, I'm just like, ugh. Now, when I get to the end of the story, I know like if I didn't have that chapter, I wouldn't have known a thing that would have connected here, so it's important. But boy, I mean, they're not supposed to be likable. You're not supposed to like them, but man, I don't like those side character perspective moments personally, and it's kind of rough because you kind of start off each book with a non-main point of view character, and you're like, why am I not with my people? But they have to like give you perspective of things that are not clan related. You know, you're not going to get the full picture if you're always with people in the No Peak clan, right? So it makes sense, but that is something that I don't love. So that's just a critique from my end. And now let's talk about the magic, because it's quite possibly my favorite thing. Very few people have incorporated a magic system that is so thematically rich to me. Like, Jade is this thing that when you have it, you can enhance yourself. You can jump higher, be stronger, like harden your skin. It does stuff. It's really cool. But if you have too much of it, if you don't have the right like genetic background or upbringing, you can become addicted to it and acquire something called the itches. And like, the consequence system is so interesting, how you can't avoid paralleling it to drugs and what happens with drug trades. But also it's this thing that, you know, international folks want to use for their military stuff. So then it brings in this international global stuff, and it leads to such interesting conversations about like refugee crises, tariffs, and trade. Like, because you're seeing this from a clan perspective and they have their hands in violent things and in business things, and Jade is just like this really consequential, powerful thing that literally in the wrong hands goes horribly. It's really cool. I really like the magic system, and that's not even that center stage. It does lead to really cool moments when you get to see the magic system happen. And it's obviously very important for just the going-ons of the world. But it's also not like the focus. So I don't know, the balance, the way Fonda Lee balances things in this series, I find so impressive. Like, she is so intentional in what she does, and I admire that so much. I don't think I've read a series in a long time that I could feel the intention. I could feel I placed this here for this reason, and I don't care if you don't like that. It's there, and I'm mesmerized by it, and that's how I feel with how Jade works in this story. Because would I like more crazy things to happen with magic? Always. But I think she's balanced it so well. And kind of getting more into her like narrative structure and how she world builds, I do think she definitely does a good job at letting it be world built kind of in that organic way of you're just following the characters and you're kind of learning through osmosis, but there are still situations she gives you where you can have a few little info dumps, like you have a character who doesn't know a thing or is interacting with a thing and is almost organically thinking about it in a way that's like a light info dump, but it's definitely more of you're watching and you are learning because eventually the context clues sink in, sort of thing. At least that was my perspective. It's definitely somewhere in the middle between complete info dump and no help whatsoever. And I think she does a great job with that. And like I said, with narrative structure in general, by the end of each book, I am always like, oh, you told a really good story. Like sometimes in the middle, I'm like, I feel like we're in a lull. This seems kind of like, why is this here? And like I said, every time I'm at the end, I'm just like, okay, that's why it happened. So if any of this sounds interesting or doesn't turn you away, you should pick it up. It's really quality. Like it hits a lot of boxes for me. I am so excited for Jade Legacy. It has the potential to be like one of my favorite completed series of all time, depending on how she wraps it up and the decisions she's chosen to go. There is currently like some antagonistic fronts that have like were kind of put on this light back burner, and I'm like, they're now at the forefront again, and I'm just like, what are we gonna do with that? I'm very intrigued, and I trust her. Like, these two books are of equal quality. A lot of people say Jade War is a lot better than Jade City. I think they're about equal. Maybe I like Jade City a tiny bit more, but I loved both of them, and I'm so excited for Jade Legacy, and I hope that if you pick it up, you have a great time too. If you made it this far, put something green in the description for Jade, and feel free to ask any questions, no spoilers in the description, please. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.